Hi there, I'm Suzanne Scott. I am the founder and the manager of Trauma Informed Parenting, a relatively new charity in Scotland. I'm just here to tell you a wee bit about what we're doing, about the workshops and what's happening with the charity. Just to start with, I'm just a mum. I'm not professional. I try and always make that clear. I tell my story of what happened to me and how this technique transformed things in my home. I have two daughters, one with special needs. My daughters are 20 and 22 now, and I was a foster carer for 7 years. We were a foster family. We looked after children with extreme trauma. It became really obvious to us the connection between trauma and autism, and the crossover with behaviours we were seeing were the same with my daughter and with my foster kids. The techniques we were trying to apply worked to a degree the same way, and we learned quite quickly that nothing was helping this wee guy that we had. As our journey as foster carers was coming to an end, it was time for us to retire. I'm now caring for my elderly parents as well. And I was looking for something to help this young man because nobody would take him on. Nobody would take him on as a permanent placement. He was looking at the future in a childcare facility at the age of 7 after having a horrific start to life. He wasn't streetwise. This was not going to be a good fit for him. And I was hungry for anything that could help this wee guy before he moved on from us. And I accidentally got a ticket to the Ace Aware seminar in Glasgow. Off I went without a clue what I was going to. And I listened to everything. It was wonderful. It was mind-blowing. Everything I've learned, everything I'd experienced as a foster carer, as a parent myself, but no answers as to what to do differently. I came home with lots of information. They gave me lots of leaflets, lots of, stuff to look at. And on the back of the programme was the name of a man called Brian Post at the Post Institute in America. I Googled him, as we do everything these days. I put him into Google and up came all this information, all this YouTube content, all of his internet presence and Facebook and Instagram and websites, free content for me to see. And I started to listen to what this guy had to say. I started to apply his techniques and I couldn't believe the changes I saw in my home. My wee guy transformed into the wee guy he was born to be. Instead of this angry, stressed, misbehaving child that we'd had for 2 years, he was a different boy. He started to manage his own stress. He started to understand what was happening to himself and how he could do things differently. And I started to see that my children weren't choosing these behaviours. It wasn't a choice they could make. It was unconscious in that moment of stress and fear that they couldn't control. But I also learned how my stress was being triggered, how my fear was being triggered, and how I was going to interfere and disconnect from my child in these moments and what I could do to change that, how I could hold that space and listen and allow all their big emotions without me being triggered by it, without me going into control, without me going into stress. And the changes that I saw in my home were unbelievable. My daughter with autism started to learn how to manage her stress. She started to be able to control her outbursts. My neurotypical teenage daughter, it has been so helpful for her, more so I would say than my kids with autism and trauma, because I didn't always make the allowances for her that I made for them. I didn't see that she too has trauma. Of course she does. She's grown up with an autistic sister. There's lots and lots of times where she's experienced trauma. It's really helped me with her through the teenage years. And in fact, recently she said to me, "Mum, I wish you had known this when I was 15, because it was probably about 18 when I learned it, at 17. And I said, so did I, so do I, because what a change it would have made, what a difference it would have been in our home had I known this. And now things are so much calmer. We don't have meltdowns. In fact, if anyone has a meltdown, it's probably me. And my kids come now and help me to calm down and help me to regulate, because I still can sometimes get triggered. I can see now how often that was me that was starting the stress and bringing my stress, and then I was blaming my kids for stressing me out, when actually a lot of the time it was me and it was my stress that was the problem. I couldn't see that because nobody had taught me that, and I came from a family where everyone got stressed out and everyone yelled and everyone screamed and everyone gave punishments, and I did the same thing. And when I learned that if I can change, if I can make that change to myself, and if I can do my own emotional work, and if I can stay calm, what a difference that can make for my children, and I can be connected with them in these worst moments. That's when changes can occur. The difference that we've had, the people that have come to the workshops, the things they are reporting back to us are so overwhelming. The difference they're seeing in their home is fantastic. So I'm going to just tell you a little bit about what the charity are doing, and hopefully it will be of interest to you to help to use with your service users and with your staff. If I can get this to work. Hang on. Okay, so what we offer is, first of all, we have a big, large, Facebook group with a big number of people on it that follow us. We give out at least 3 pieces of useful content every day on how to apply the trauma lens, little tips, little techniques that can help, anything that we can think of. Lots of people asking questions and asking for help on there. Other parents can see that, which is great too, because they can tap into that information. We have workshops at the moment, they're online. Hopefully we'll be going back out into face-to-face, but we have a 4-hour workshop and I talk about how I applied the lens, what it did for me, how it changed for me, how to do it, what it is other people can do. And I signpost them onto all of the information. I talk about what my life was like before I tried to apply this technique, and what my life is like now and how that changed and what happened when I started to use it. We also have a private support group for anyone who attends a workshop. You're invited to join that, and there's more support on there. It's a closed support group. People are free to comment and talk. Nobody else can see it. We support each other because it's all about us as parents doing that work on ourselves first and learning how to be calm and how to be connected. And we can support each other in that because we're only human. We're not going to always do it. We're going to mess up. Of course we are. And we can come and get support and reset and regroup. On that support group, we also have lots of different things coming in to help us with our own healing, on our own healing journey, because that's what it's all about, is us doing that healing first. There's things like Reiki, meditation, yoga. We had a drawing therapist on. We did some art therapy classes. We've had therapists coming in doing group work. We've had a hypnotherapist coming in to do a talk about school refusal and why our children are struggling so much at the moment with all the stress and the fear and anxiety around school. Anything that we can think of, we get people to come in, professionals to come in and offer that support to our parents. Also, parents can reach out to me and have one-to-one sessions. We have WeChat, we have, just somebody to listen and offer advice and what techniques they can apply and what they can do to just sometimes it's just pointing out to people the things that they're worrying about are all way off in the future that haven't actually happened. That's just the stress in the brain, and getting them to calm down, getting them to see what's really going on. Think of different ways they could have managed that, learning to calm down, learning to breathe and stop and think before we react. So lots of those wee things. Who attends the workshops? It's lots of different people that come along to the workshops. Parents come along with children on the spectrum, children with trauma, very effective, it works really well with them. Parents that have a trauma history themselves, that come from that generational patterns of behaviour as well, just as much as abuse and neglect. It's sometimes good families have all these things happening in them, these generational patterns that we bring down, that we copy and we bring into our future relationships. We talk a lot about that in the workshops. Lots of foster carers, adopters, kinship carers attending. Many teachers attended, especially during the first lockdown, wanting to know more about this. Early years workers, support workers, anyone that's working with families, social workers, health visitors. Other charities have us in. We talk to their workers, their volunteers. We talk to their service users and groups supporting parents and supporting families, because it's all about learning how we can be calm when we're listening to people, when we're able to hear what they're saying without getting triggered into our own fear. Because being around people who are stressed out causes us to be stressed out. Seeing what we can do and how we can make it be more comfortable in other people's discomfort, so that we can allow them to have all their emotions and not come in and try and fix all the time. It's so important to just learn to listen and hear what they're saying and witness their horror and witness their pain and witness their fear without taking that and changing it, which is quite hard to do. Just a wee bit of our feedback. We have so much feedback from people from the workshops. It's overwhelming, actually. And unbelievable how great. When I offered this out at first, I didn't know if people would respond to it, if we would find it helpful. We've now got people coming from all over the world because we're online. The workshops we have workshops on all the time that are for anyone to join, as well as putting on workshops for specific groups. They fill up as quick as we can put them on because people need this information. When funding allows, we offer these workshops for free. It's too important. We need to get this information out. We can sign, anyone can sign up to attend these, and we have had funding from Eastern Bartonshire, Western Bartonshire, North Lanarkshire, Glasgow and Stirling to offer these workshops in areas, and also offer to groups that work with kids and work with families to have this information as well. Normally a workshop would cost £200 a workshop, so that's brilliant that we can offer this for free. And we have about 6 workshops in each area that we can. use up. A workshop is 4 hours. It can accommodate roughly 20 participants. We can do this in one 4-hour session, which is quite a lot for a parent, I think, to listen to. There's a lot of information in this to take in. We're finding it best in a 2 hour sessions. It's a bit easier to more palatable, especially when it's online. It's much better. A 4-hour session is fine when you're in a room with people, real life people, looking at each other and talking and discussing it, but online 2 hour sessions tends to be the best way to do it. Some can be held in the mornings, some can be held in the evenings. We can even do them at the weekends on a Saturday, depending on your group's needs. What do we cover? Well, we cover all sorts, but we talk about ACEs. I talked a bit about ACEs, adverse childhood experience, and generational trauma. I explain how stress affects the brain, how it affects relationships and connection. The importance of relationship and connection, because it's what it's all about, is building those relationships and building that safe connection for our kids. I talk about the fear state and the love state, the fear state being a shutdown state and the love state being an open and connected state, and how we can't be in both, either in one or the other. I can see now how I was constantly in a fear state and I wasn't connected to my child, and I discuss all that. Calm breathing. I talk about calm breathing and all the time because it has a game changer. It's changed my life and it's so good, and it can bring your stress down. It can help our brains come back online when we're in that fear state. I talk about what that can do for us and what that can do for our kids. The 3 pathways of emotional expression. How as human beings we go through the 3 ways that we express ourselves, and if we aren't able to express through emotions and we aren't able to express through feelings, we will fall into behaviours, and that's where a lot of our children are, and how we get them out of that and how we bring them up and allow them to express through their attitudes and their feelings in more appropriate ways. I talk about the oxytocin response, that love hormone in the brain, and how we can release more of it so that our children can release more of it. And I talk about how we can learn to stay calm and regulated in these moments of stress and fear, because we get so triggered by our children's stress, and then they get so triggered by our stress and fear. And it's that big cycle that we just keep doing and we don't know how to get out of. So that's what we do at Trauma Informed Parenting. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has. Contact me at suzanne@tipuk.co.uk. Thank you. Bye. I can figure out how to stop the recording.